You're listening to the Pathfinder Report, a podcast from Project Pathfinder. For more information about the programs and the intensives we offer, please go to projectpathfinder.net. Thank you for listening, and now, on to the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to an interview with the team at Project Pathfinder. My name is Ethan Harper. I'm the host of what is now the Project Pathfinder Community Discord server. Or the admin of that server. So this is something that's new, something that's different. We haven't had three people on here before. It's usually been one-on-one with alumni or different staff interviews, but I was lucky enough to be able to nail down all three of these guys in one place at one time, thanks to the snow and ice and everything nice that currently assails Northern Virginia. So, hello, welcome to, in no particular order, Miss Elissa Kruse, Mr. Glenn Bertsch, and Mr. Joel Grewe. How are you guys doing today? And don't answer all at once. No, you guys can answer all at once. I don't care. I don't care.
Doing pretty good. It's pretty cold out there.
Yeah.
It is cold out there. I work right next to a window, and I'm currently regretting that life choice. So, yes.
You got to get yourself...
it's been bad when I was outside today and 28 degrees felt kind of warm.
Yeah, I know. Like,
based off of what it has been the last couple of days.
I woke up and it was 6. So 28 is like a huge temperature jump. No kidding.
Yeah, no, it's a problem because I got a coworker that lives in Lovettsville, and he's like, it's a higher elevation. How is it warmer? And I took a beat and then said, at this point, it's just closer to the sun, and that's why it's warmer. It's so cold.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about everything leading up to the launch of Project Pathfinder, what the launch has looked like, because as of release, hopefully, Project Pathfinder's website has been live for a week. So this is kind of an early first impressions take. Maybe we'll get you guys back here in a year and see what you think then. But that'll be fun. But anyways, and then we're going to talk about what you guys are most excited for in the upcoming year and hopefully years to come, Lord willing. So let's see here. Let's start with you, Joel, because I remember distinctly a conversation between you and I where you were like, this thing has to have a name. What will this idea be named? And that was that was a very cool conversation we got to have. So for you, Joel, what was it like leading up to Project Pathfinder? And what do you think about that? I do want to preface because it's been in a couple of recordings, but it's been out. I took the bit out. For those of you who don't know, it takes usually, and either of you can jump in, or any of you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but usually for this kind of nonprofit with these intensives and these kind of programs, it takes anywhere from 4 to 8 months to spin up a program like this. And these three, in addition to a gaggle of a host of a legion of volunteers. We'll come up with the plural of
a rabid collage of volunteers. Yes, something. Yeah. They are both eccentric and working very hard.
Okay, updating dictionary definition. Plural Pathfinders is rabid collage. But thanks to the efforts of these three and a rabid collage of volunteers, what would have taken anywhere from 6 to 8 months took 6 to 8 weeks. So
something like that.
It has been some kind of divine lightning strike from God that this thing happened so fast. So
it's been a frantic sprint. Yes.
Joel, why don't you tell us about that frantic sprint from your perspective?
Okay. We'll do this in short, but just so you guys know, this started really, for those of you who know our background coming out of Generation Joshua with the decision of HSLD to shut that down, there was a kind of an understanding and a desire within the team here, as well as some of the other people that are on the board, some of the other staff members, that this was a good thing that did a good work that was worth doing and shouldn't be set aside. And if HSLDA couldn't do it anymore, so be it. But the work needed to continue. The question was, how and could it? And so that involved a bunch of really rapid conversations. Uh, Maybe I'm tipping my hand a little bit, but that included talking to some other organizations and saying, hey, would you like to take what was Gen J and bring it into your shop? That included saying, I'm going to go find something else to do. That included a couple different options, but one of the options, kind of from the get-go, was brought up regularly in conversation. Was well, would you guys want to just go do it on your own, or would you, Joel, want to go do it on your own? I'm like, I do not want to do it on my own. Hence the team. But I don't think I can do it on my own. But I do want the work to happen, and I love doing it. So a couple Gen J alum kind of cornered me, for lack of better terms, and said, we will help you get this up and running. And I'm like, it's not going to be just me. It's going to involve a team. They're like, that's great. That'd be really good. And I'm like,
they were like, no, you don't understand. We will help you get this up and running.
yeah, there was a bit of that. But what that meant was that at the minimum, I decided that we were going to see if we could keep it going, and we were going to need an entity. Now, what I did know is that there were certain things that needed to come into place if this was going to be a purely volunteer-driven thing, if it was going to actually be a fully staffed organization. And that required making the entity exist. So right after Thanksgiving, I think it was right after Thanksgiving. Was that the weekend, Elissa? That we did that long lunch, I think. We, Ethan, Elissa, myself, our treasurer, the guy who's now our treasurer, sat down and started working our way through this to say, what would it take? And by the time we were done with a longer lunch than normal, we had filed the documentation with the state commission to create a C3 and a C4. Now that's still in process. There's IRS stuff we have to do. There's a whole bunch of, this is why it takes 4 to 9 months, Ethan, is because the paperwork is ludicrous. That said, I did not realize how hard it was to start a business or a nonprofit or whatever until I've tried to do it now. And now I'm realizing how incredibly hard it is. If you know people that are starting something from zero, they are doing a ludicrous amount of work. Just know that. But we put that together and filed it, and it took about a week or so before we got that sorted. And so on December 5th, 2025, the state came back and said, you exist. Congratulations.
Happy birthday!
The name, yeah, pretty much. There's our birthday. If you want to know what it is, it's the 5th of December. Ethan, to your point, as far as the name, we knew we were going to need a name. We wanted to carry a couple ideas in it, and you and me and a few other people, but you and me at one point in a particularly memorable car ride, were bouncing around ideas on our way to church, actually, of just like, what could this be called? And there were a couple different ideas that came into play, but one of the most important pieces was the idea that this should reflect the fact that there is an aspect of journey or travel or kind of growth that comes into growing up, but also in you growing up into your citizenship, as well as growing up into leadership, as well as growing up in following God. Like, so all of those had an aspect of travel in it. There was also an aspect of unknown. We don't know how it all works. We have to figure it out. There was also an aspect of finding what is true. Those kind of collage kind of came together. We're talking through verses and ideas. And with a bunch of different iterations, it got us to the idea or the name of Pathfinder. Now, there's a lot of different versions in it, and this was always kind of designed to be an initiative that we're setting up. So in my case, it was the project, or Project Pathfinder, which is, as the name came to be known. But the idea behind it was where do we go from here? How should we live? What does it take to be a leader, a citizen, a mature adult? How do those kind of come into place? So it's like finding our path. And so there's an element of that going forward. Also recognizing that we live in a world that is filled with chaos, that is filled with confusion, that's filled with a lot of different people pushing a lot of different ideas. Some of them are very good, some of them are very bad, and many of them are something in between. Finding the correct path and knowing how to follow that and walk that is something that is a challenge for every generation, and something that we want to stand to meet, to be able to help people as they work their way through that, to provide what wisdom and guidance we found and what knowledge we've gained, but also help people wrestle with hard questions. It's it's a time for young people, young adults, high school, college age, where they're trying to figure out how they're going to make sense of the world they live in, what their responsibilities as an American is, as a citizen, as a believer. How do you put those together and make those holistic and wholesome? And how do they work versus it being in conflict? So our our purpose is to help meet that moment and that need in a way that we view as biblically grounded, and also provides people a way that they don't stay with us forever. They come in, we help them, we get them sorted, and then they chart their path based on those core principles and truths that are essential to any mature adult. So anyway, that's kind of where the name came from. It was a very long car ride on a very cold night that was very dark and not as cold as this one, but nonetheless, that's kind of where the idea came from and kind of the idea behind the name.
That's awesome. Joel, thank you for explaining kind of the spin-up process for that. Elissa, what was it like for you? I'm curious to hear from you and Glenn what the process looked like from your end. And you might not have as much to say on the matter as Joel, but I'm still curious how it looked for you guys. So Elissa, would you mind going first?
Yeah, I was really excited when I first heard that there might even be a chance of doing something like this. There was initially some discussions about it, like right before Thanksgiving. And then there was that Sunday afternoon where we had a very long lunch where it actually came to be. And it's been definitely a big like learning curve in just putting together, like Joel said, there's so many details about small business that I have never known. I've helped my parents start some small businesses before, but never on this kind or the scale. So it was exciting too, because like Pathfinder, the mission that we have, like what we did with Generation Joshua still meant a lot to me. And I was really sad that that was going away. And so to have the opportunity to continue this mission, even if it's under a new name, but still be able to do the same, have the same heart, have the same mission was just a really exciting idea to me. And I was definitely wanting to be a part of that in any way that I could be.
Awesome. What about you, Glenn?
I should also note that she was a serious encouragement to me to do it, because there was no way I was doing this on my own, and her heart for it came through in the conversations we had leading up to it. That was really, really mattered.
Yeah. So for me, I remember the conversation that when Joel first told me that he was thinking about doing this. And after we were told that HSLDA was ending Generation Joshua, in the back of my mind was the why don't we just pick it up and go and do this? But at the same time, I was like, this is too ludicrous for us to try to do this in the time frame that we would have. Um, Joel came and told me about that, and I was like, well, it's still ludicrous. And then I found out his wife was on board, and I thought if Christy's behind this, then there's a rational chance of it actually working out. And so I was thrilled to jump on board. It's been crazy. I've learned numbers of IRS forms that I never knew existed and hope to never have to see again.
Schedule D.
Yeah, scheduled at like literally in Joel's office praying, Lord, don't make us fill these out.
I
It's
was
been
unreasonably happy to tell Glenn when our lawyer told us we did not have to fill out a particular form. Like, that's stupid, but I was so happy.
yes. And so that's lots of time with the IRS forms and other forms like that, budgets, getting into all the weeds and technical details to actually get something like this off the ground. And so last Thursday when we actually got into the launching this, was kind of surreal seeing the website actually go live and being in this point, after about 7-8 weeks of just utter chaos and craziness trying to get to this point.
The quote.
And there's been a
comes
lot
to
of that
mind.
other chaos. The amount of times I see Glenn's computer icon as online, probably working on stuff, and then when I ping him, yes, well after 5, well after 6, well after 8, or myself or Elissa is very high right now. There's a lot of that.
Well, you're starting
But that's
a
how
small
it gets done.
business. Yeah, that is how it gets done. Yeah, the quote comes to mind. It's insane. It's crazy. So crazy, it just might work.
Well, I hope
so. Work it did. From what I understand, you guys have half a Senate and some press for camp this year, if I remember the numbers correctly. Yeah. So it seems like it's working.
We've got a good chunk of kids signed up for camp this year, which is wonderful, considering how quickly that had to be put together after being told it wasn't going to happen, and them going, no, if it's going to happen, we're going to come. That's been pretty amazing. So yeah, we have camp sign up. We have a bunch of different things that are actually moving along remarkably better than I ever expected them to be at this point.
Well, that's a wonderful segue to how you're feeling right now, as Project Pathfinder's been live for a week. So, how, other than, it's moving along wonderfully and it's not actually falling apart as it takes off the tarmac, how are we feeling, Joel?
Tired, if that can be a fair answer. It literally, I'll find myself sitting down at my computer to work, and I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? And then I do the horrifically bad but necessary thing of opening up my to-do list, which is 226 items, and then I'm like, this is a ludicrous number of things that can't get done. And then yesterday, Glenn and I were working on a project, and I'm like, you know what, I can go check this off. And I started looking at the list. I'm like, well, that can be checked off too, and that's done, and that's done. And 36 notifications later, a bunch of stuff had been checked off. I'm like, hey, we've got like 80 items off this list done now. Like, I didn't know that would be possible. Like, there's still plenty more, but it's moving in really tangible ways. Additional government paperwork is being filed this week. More stuff is being arranged. Like, I remember the day where we went from not having a phone number or a mailing address to having a phone number and a mailing address. And all of a sudden that's real, and it goes onto the website. And then a bunch of students and alumni got together and started pouring in pictures. So we had pictures to put up on the website because we couldn't take the HSLDA ones, but from Gen J. But people take their own and hand it to us. We can absolutely use those. And so they did. And all of a sudden, the website started to form up, and then a graphics package came through, and branding came through, and then emails started coming up, and it was really weird when I ended up sending my first email under my new account. And it's like, this is very real. There's been a lot of moments of kind of stunned amazement. It's not quite delight yet. It's more just like, oh my gosh, that actually happened, and you're kind of blown away and blink, and then you're like, I don't have time to go to dwell on it because I've got more work to do. But you keep moving. Anyway, I guess
wait for the inevitable conversation where any combination of the four of us are sitting at a table, and I go, or somebody goes, we've been live for 6 months, and the table just goes quiet for a second, and like, oh,
yeah, no,
so much has been done.
The fact that we've existed publicly existed for a week, give or take, and there's a bunch of people signed up for a summer camp. We already have contracts to do one of our intensives down in Florida. We have another contract that just came through today for a new thing we're doing that Gen J never did, that I want to talk about a little bit later. That's going to be cool. And then a second one that's following in a couple days that's going to be on top of that. Like, it's moving. Yes. And then there's all the admin stuff that we're actually getting done that I find very annoying to experience. But when you need to get it done, actually getting the thing accomplished and realizing how much work goes into getting the admin done, first of all, is mind-blowing. Second of all, is slightly terrifying. And it's oh so satisfying when it actually gets accomplished. Like insurance. Oh my gosh, I have learned more about insurance, personal and business, in the last week and a half than I ever wanted to know. But nonetheless, you have to have it, and we're getting it done. So, yeah.
Epic. What about you, Glenn? How are you feeling as the organization's been live for a week?
What I've told a lot of people is it's a weird mix of terrified and excited at the same time. There's the excitement of, all of us, we loved the mission that we did at Generation Joshua, and that was a big thing. We didn't want that to end. And so seeing this actually go live and take off, seeing, I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere around 20 students signed up for camp already within a week, which is just insane. Having all this stuff come together is so exciting as we get to see this mission kind of continue on. And yet there's so many things you're looking at, like all the stuff that could still go wrong, that it's the semi-terrifying of like, we still have this and that. And to Joel's point of the to-do list, we checked off a whole ton. There's still a whole lot more for us to do. And so it's easy at times to become overwhelmed by everything that's on that to-do list, everything that needs to be done to make sure that Project Pathfinder doesn't just have a good launch, but is actually a successful, enduring program. But it's also so exciting just seeing where we're at, the mission continuing. And and just seeing God's faithfulness through all of this has been so encouraging, even at the points where I'm looking at the IRS form for the 4th time, trying to figure out how I'm supposed to answer that question.
I tell you, those forms are not made to to be understood by humans.
No.
They're not.
Think tax
They're
forms
really,
are
really not.
complicated.
The kids thought the FEC forms were bad at camp. They have no
Oh, I know. It's one of those where it's like, Glenn, we could change those forms if we really wanted to take this up a notch for accuracy, but I feel like I shouldn't inflict that on anyone.
That's every time that I do my own personal taxes, I feel like we need to make the 1040 at camp more complicated because it's so easy and simple to fill out. And now that I'm doing the 1023s and 1024As and whatever that other form number was, I'm like, yes, let's just inflict this on students so they see what the IRS actually makes people do.
Hear
That is
that,
cool.
kids? It gets worse.
Oh,
You
it does
thought
get worse in
you-
real life.
Oh,
You
nice
thought
to
Lily
you.
was bad? You thought she was bad? Oh, no. No, just wait till you have to file actual taxes for your actual life.
Yeah.
Elissa, how are you feeling with the launch of Project Pathfinder?
I feel like, honestly, I'm feeling a lot like Glenn, and I think Joel kind of said this too. Like, there's initially some, there's definitely some anxiety just because this is a big, exciting thing to be launching. And I would say that we're definitely still in the takeoff phase. Like, we're off the ground, but we're still climbing, and that's going to be the way it's going to be for a little bit. But I think the majority of the emotion right now is just excitement. Like, I'm really excited to see where this can go. There's so much opportunity, even just with some of the people we've been talking with about just for future projects and things as we go. It's really nice to have purposeful work again. Stuff had really slowed down in the fall with Generation Joshua. We were kind of waiting to see what the answer was going to be, and I'm one of those people who really do best when I have a to-do list and things that I can actually accomplish. And so, as much as the to-do list feels a little overwhelming right now, it also just feels really good to have like and know everything that I'm working on has value and is moving the mission forward. So that part of me is like really excited, and also just I'm kind of a little bit in awe too of just watching how God has put this together in the last 7 months, like 7 months, 7 weeks.
I was about to say.
Like just yeah, not 7 months. Just from seeing the initial concept to within a couple weeks, just seeing launch and God bringing people in. So far, every time we've run into something where we're like, oh, we need this, but we don't have any expertise, like God has had either an alumni or somebody that alumni knows that he has sent to help us be able to figure out. Joel mentioned insurance earlier, like that came through a friend connection. The graphics, the website, the marketing, like each of those things, God's just sent some really awesome people who have been helping us. And so that every time I kind of start getting really anxious about the things that we need to do or accomplish, God answers a prayer a lot of times in a way we didn't expect so far. So if anything, these last few weeks have been really good at building faith. So, yeah.
We definitely have done that. Oh my gosh, my faith has been stretched in ways that I had never conceived of. Probably good ways, but not ways I would ever invite on myself.
Like I remember talking to all three of you guys during that stretch of time right after the decision was made and before all of this kind of took off, and the three of you were all in your own way. You guys were in like, well, if this is what God has planned for us, then this is what it is, and it sucks, and I guess this is where we are. And he was definitely looking back on it now, that definitely seems like it was a rubber banding of your faith, so that he could like pull it back and then let it go. So you guys are flying now, and I can't wait. Speaking of I can't wait, last thing we're going to talk about is things that we are excited for and flying towards at a rapid rate. Elissa, let's go backwards now. Elissa, why don't you kick us off and tell us the thing that you are most excited for that Project Pathfinder is doing in 2026 and beyond?
Okay, this is a really hard question because there's a lot of things to be excited about, but I just need to pick one.
I mean, if you want time to think, I can give you some time, but
No, I've got an answer. I mean, honestly, I'm really excited about the opportunity to bring back student action teams. So that's something like that was the first thing that I got involved in with Generation Joshua was doing that, and that was what convinced me that I had both found people, but also that I could actually make a difference in my country and my community. And that's something that I have missed the last few years. So I'm really excited that we're going to be bringing those back in the fall. We've already got some interesting people that we're talking to that could be make the fall really fun, and we might even have some before the fall. We'll see.
Wait, now you're
But
saying it. This wasn't me. Okay.
I'm not. We don't know. With the world
Where's
of student action teams,
student action
and
teams
these kind of
outside
things.
election season? What's the world coming to? Ah!
Virginia. The world is coming to
I didn't-
Virginia. Let's just
Oh,
leave it right
Lord.
there.
Well, see, Joel's telling you more than I was going to tell you. I was just going to say that there might be a chance, so you should definitely keep an eye out for that.
We will see. There are lawsuits and judgments and a very interesting judicial decision from yesterday this morning, maybe yesterday, that was fascinating to read that will determine some of that. So we're going to see, but there's a lot of turmoil in the political world right now. So there are opportunities.
Ain't that the truth? Glenn, what are you most excited for in the upcoming year and the years to come?
See, you brought in the question by adding for the years to come.
Okay, let's
Just
start
narrow it.
2020. Okay, 2026. What are you excited for this year?
So for this year, one of the things I'm really excited about is the launching Project Pathfinder in the 250th anniversary of America's forming. And one of the areas there that I'm really excited about is the program that we're doing down at the conference in Florida is our I Advocate Westminster program, which is a British Parliament simulation. That sounds really weird when we talk about we do American government, but we're doing a British Parliament simulation. But it does the comparative side of like, what did the founding fathers know as far as a governmental structure when they formed our country? And when you look at how that Westminster parliamentary system works compared to what the founding fathers ended up with our government, and you just see the wisdom and the brilliance that our founding fathers had. The idea of checks and balances or separation of powers are completely foreign to what any government knew of at that point, and our founding fathers brought that in. And so I'm really excited to get to show, especially in Florida with that program, but other places, just the uniqueness of America and the ways that a lot of other countries have changed their governments to be more like ours because they saw that our government, obviously not perfect, but it is a much better system than anything that was out there. And so I'm excited to be able to showcase that to our students, especially with it being the 250th birthday of the United States.
Rock on. That's
That's
awesome
gonna be
answer.
so cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the stories from that. But yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I have considered, because my current organization, my current job will probably have people at that conference, and the thought crossed my mind to try and sign up to be a worker for that conference. Not so that I could see you guys, but so that I could go to Galaxy's Edge.
It's really good, for the record.
No,
I went last year. It was amazing.
Of course, to see you guys, but yeah. So, anyways, that's super cool. I'm looking forward to hearing about that, and I would not be surprised at all if some of the kids in our Discord are planning on being there too. So, look forward to that. Joel,
I know a bunch of kids in our Discord who've been there in the past, so they better be there again this year.
Oh, he's
Looking
calling
forward
you
to it,
out.
yeah.
He's calling you out. I don't know who you are, but he's calling you out.
They know
All
who
right.
they are.
They
know who they are.
Who they
Yeah, they do.
are. Yes, they do. All right, Joel.
I
hit
imagine
us.
someone's going to tag their names underneath the post when this goes up. Anyway,
Probably.
keep going.
Well, no, what do
Sorry,
you mean
Ethan.
keep going? It is your turn. What are you looking forward to in this year?
Well, several things I'm really looking forward to, but I've got...
You get to pick one for right now.
I know. What I'm going to pick is something new that I'm really excited about adding into the portfolio that Pathfinder's going to get to do that we really weren't able to do with Gen J. That is something that is now an option on the table.
All right.
We structured Pathfinder specifically to look at holistic citizenship. So that is like it's the HSLDA, and it by virtue of being the Homeschool Legal Defense Association with Generation Joshua, had a particular focus on home education, which makes total sense, right? And for all of us coming out of that background, like that's kind of where our heartbeat starts as far as a lot of our engagement and awareness of this, and that part's not going away. But we were careful to narrow our engagement to be specifically kind of home education tied aspects, and there's virtue to that, don't get me wrong, okay? But there are plenty of issues that are, when we look at holistic and biblical citizenship and political engagement, what can be engaged on, that we did not engage on at Gen J because that was outside of the scope of the larger organization that was HSLDA, that is HSLDA. But for Pathfinder, those limiters aren't there anymore. Okay, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't engage on some of the same issues we did. We will. Those are issues we care about, and we legitimately engage to do good work. Our work on the child tax credit, for example, had a particular value to homeschoolers, but also just to families with kids in general. That said, there are plenty of opportunities that come our way where there is a path for people to get engaged in advocacy on policy. Like the crafting of policy, so the lawmaking process, not just the elections and not just the judicial aspect, but the lawmaking process that we are going to be able to engage on in a way that was not really an opportunity for Gen J students prior, but is an opportunity within Pathfinder. So we actually are in the process of, I got the first draft of the contract this morning. I should have the final version tomorrow to have our first initial go at one of these. I can't tip my hand until it's signed, but as far as the specific details, but we're going to be engaging in DC, but more importantly, we're going to be engaging in the states on these federal issues. So instead of going into DC to talk about it, which we definitely will do some of, we're going to be heading out to where y'all live. Okay. And I don't know which states are. I think it's going to be 7 of them, but we'll be doing work where we're going to be meeting with the elected officials and their staff in districts where we're going to be engaging students where they live for local engagement, because it matters to the people in the districts. It's going to be something unique and fairly different, but really important. And it's going to be a way to engage with you guys across the country as we go forward. We'll put out calls to say, hey, we're heading to these states. Who's in those states? Who wants to come help? And we'll be able to engage you as we travel. And we would really look forward to that. It also means we get to see you more often, which is a side perk that's just cool. So we're going to be doing some of that as well. And a chance to actually do real policymaking work. Not just the stuff at iGovern or the stuff at I Advocate Westminster or I Advocate. This is the actual code that goes into US law that then actually has an impact, where we get to go and do advocacy in the ideas and principles that align with our core values. And so I'm really excited to kind of add that portfolio to what we're able to do at Pathfinder, and for students and their families actually holistically to be able to be engaged. It's going to be really cool.
I'm looking forward to hearing the stories about that too, because I remember, like, I know advocacy has always been something at the heart of all of you guys, considering how you want to, how the goal is to build up good American citizens and good leaders, and being able to advocate for yourself as like a starting point from like a business perspective. If you can't, you are your own greatest advocate when you're trying to find a job, when you're trying to promote your business, when you're trying to encourage other people, you're advocating for them. And at a very, very large scale, when you're advocating for your country, that's those skills come into play. So advocating has been something that I have seen all of you guys promote at camp, at programs. I've been lucky enough to work with you guys on some of those programs and help students learn how to advocate for themselves. So that's been excellent. But that's really cool to hear what you guys are excited about and what's coming down the pipe. So we've got
if I can add one more thing to that, Ethan. Sorry,
sure,
just
go ahead. I mean, I was about to say. So we've got student action teams. We've got I Advocate Westminster. Which, by the way, hold on, wait a second. So is that like working title I Advocate Westminster, or is that like actual I Advocate Westminster? Do we have I Advocate Westminster?
The name isn't trademarked.
So it is I Advocate Westminster.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't think there'll be any competition to us using it. So yes, that part's fine. There's other stuff that we can't refer to by the name we'd like to necessarily until HSLDA and us work out some paperwork. But I Advocate is definitely one of the ones that we can. So let me
Excellent.
add one more minor thing on the advocacy. For those of you watching this that are old school Gen J, and I mean like old school Gen J, like Glenn, of that era.
So we're talking to
Maybe
Amy
Elissa,
Buckmeyer.
but okay, but like, so for a lot of you older than you, okay.
Yeah.
But that being said, maybe not quite my age, but a half step younger. We used to do this, okay? Like, Gen J students used to engage in direct policy advocacy at a federal level, at a national level, and we largely didn't do that because other people took that up, and we were no longer asked to engage. But it is in our heritage and our DNA. It's just not something we've really been able to do for the last 10 plus years. So in a sense, this is new for all the students over the last decade that have been involved. But for the people that go further back than that, I mean like 2008, 2010, like 2012. Some of you weren't born yet, I know. Okay, but like when we get back to that era, that was a thing that we did. And it was part and parcel of what good citizenship looked like. And that went away not because of a lack of desire so much as a lack of opportunity and other people picking up that kind of responsibility, but it is kind of the heritage we come from, and it's something I'm really eager to reintroduce to people. So anyway, for those of you old school OG, like seriously OG Gen J, you'll be like, oh, I actually remember us doing some of that. Yes, I do recall and was involved in that, but it's been so long that fortunately it's new. Yeah.
If you remember the forums, you'll remember doing that stuff.
Yep, we did that. Wow, the forums. Oh my gosh, the forums.
Mm-hmm.
Before there was Discord, there was the forums.
Before there was Discord, there was the forums, indeed. Yeah, okay. So advocacy, education, and SATs. Is there anything else? I mean, camp, too. We were talking about camp earlier in the conversation. Is there anything else, kind of just throwing it out to the group, is there anything else that you guys are excited for? And then I'll give you guys like a small curveball question. That's not, it won't be rocket science, but it just a small one. You'll be fine. So, are there any other programs, any other things that Pathfinder is thinking about doing in the 2026 year that you guys are excited for?
I feel like we hit the high
Glenn mentioned one. Yeah, I would say, like Glenn mentioned the intensive. There was one intensive we have currently scheduled, but I'm really excited the fact that we're going to be able to do more of those programs because, like, ultimately, at least historically with Generation Joshua, when we did the 2-day programs, that was actually how we reached the most number of students, and I love that because it lets us travel around and see a variety of students. It's always fun to take our programs to different places and see how different parts of the country interact with those kind of with the simulations and the challenges that we throw at them. So I'm really excited both in 26 and beyond, just that we're going to have a lot more opportunity to take those to homeschool groups, to public and private schools. We've done a little bit of that, but not a lot, but there's a lot of opportunity for that. So particularly if you want to bring basically a mini camp to your area, like let us know because we would really love to bring that to your area.
And
you can find
Elissa,
sign up
you
for
couldn't
that
be
on
more right. Just like
projectpathfinder.net.
the distinction of like how students approach the problems and challenges and different like learning opportunities that come through those different intensives really does vary around the US. Like we get some very distinctly unique cultural responses where it's like that's only going to happen in Iowa. That's only going to particularly Pella. There's one Glenn knows what I'm talking about. Okay, that's only going to be a response from Boston or from Florida or from.
Did they not know the size of an aircraft carrier?
That was funny, and to be fair, there are no aircraft carriers close to Iowa, so I understand the fact that they thought they could fly the carrier, but it in fact does not fly and does not fit on a plane. That said, we learned something in that moment. Those happen, but you see people approaching things in different ways. You see the different ways cultures engage, backgrounds, kind of what kids grow up with, but also a chance for them all to find a common point of reference. Because then when they come from around the U.S. to camp, they're like, oh, I've encountered that problem too. Here's how we addressed it. Here's how we and sometimes they're like, oh, that would have been great. I should have thought about that. That's a great idea. Other times, like, I'm sorry, you did what? Yeah, well, we didn't know better. Okay, well, you learn, and that's a powerful part of that because then it builds commonalities across state lines, across cultures and counties and across the country, and it's a pretty cool way. So anyway, all right, Ethan, what's your curveball?
So here is my curveball question for you guys, and it's less of a curveball question and more of a nomination. we're looking for more people to have on alumni interviews and as guests to this podcast, which, I mean, podcast. We're looking
Yeah, it's
for
getting
more
there.
guests. We'll talk about that more later. But if you had to nominate someone in the same way that one would be nominated for an ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, if you had to nominate someone to be on this program here talking to some of us about a topic for current events or having like a casual conversation, who would you nominate / drag onto the podcast? And we will, let's see, I don't know. Who wants to go first?
I've got one for this. It
Okay.
literally showed up in my WhatsApp this morning, which gives you a hint that it's not someone domestic right now, so that might be a little complicated. But it's also not Jeremiah, which is what most people probably would go to for that. So that being said, for those of you who know, he's overseas right now. No, this is a different Gen J alum who works overseas. Did a lot of work with Gen J, worked in the White House, did a bunch of different things, but is currently working with helping people that are victims of human trafficking in Europe and doing some really incredible things.
I think I know who
In
this is.
Italy, in France, in England, a couple different things. I don't know if I can say the name without asking, but it's a Gen J alum that's done some pretty incredible stuff and is doing some pretty incredible stuff, and texted me this morning and said she'd like to get involved again. I said, great. Okay, so we're going to leave that right there, but I think she'd be an amazing person to interview and would have some incredible perspective, particularly having worked now around the world in multiple countries and seeing the way those governments interact, how those interact with people, how needs are met in different ways with different cultures and backgrounds, but also having worked in the White House in DC. I think she'd have some pretty incredible perspective as an alumni. So that's my nomination. And if she's watching this, she'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So there's that.
Excellent. All right. If either of you two have an idea, then you're welcome to go. But I think I've got like one or two ideas as well. But if you've got one lined up, go for it.
Yeah, I've got a couple different ideas. One of the first ones that popped into my mind is going to be a last name that's familiar to a lot of people around here, but you're not going to actually know him, and that's Andrew Mullins.
It's a Mullins. I knew it was a Mullins.
Yeah, Andrew, he's OG Gen J like me. We were bunkmates at camp in 2007. Back before Joel and Jeremiah were even involved in Gen J.
Yep.
And so he's gone through Gen J, and is now doing marketing and stuff with political campaigns. And I think he could be a really interesting one. Another person that jumped into my mind was now Amy Hicks. Amy, who did Gen J. I remember her from doing I Object in Oklahoma City. And then she's come to camp, did an intern. If you do interview Amy, make sure you only use pertinent questions. And if you bring that up, she will completely understand why. But
At
she
this
then
rate,
went
I'm
on.
just gonna make sure that you're there with me, hosting that podcast with her there, like that.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe my wife could join. It'd be very memorable.
He'd be a really good person to have on as well.
Yeah, Joel, not gonna lie, you talked about when Glenn said, if Christy's in, then I'm in. I wrote down in front of me, I went, interview Christy, underline.
Oh, it'd be great fun. She has quite some stories that will definitely that might go in the kind of human intersection rather than current news. We'll figure out where that fits, but yes, it'd be great fun.
Current news on Project Pathfinder. That it might be
Something.
like a Venn diagram intersection. But
there's some stories she should not share, though.
Yeah.
That may be true. Actually, I know that's true. I just think we might disagree which ones those stories are. That being said. All right.
Taking one from Tulsa that should not be shared.
That was the one I was thinking of too. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just my version. It's from Boston. Anyway, Elissa, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay, so I've been sitting here trying to think through, just like we have so many people over the years who've been involved and are now doing some really cool things. Joel actually took the first person that came to mind for me because
I'm sorry.
I'm positive we're thinking of the same person.
Yep.
But I think another one the kids would definitely enjoy hearing from is Chaz. Like he
Oh,
has
yeah.
got some interesting life stories
Yes.
as well as can talk about foreign policy and I mean, as we know, his class has been quite popular the last couple of years at camp. So Chaz, Hallie, his wife as well, has got, I'm sure, some good stories as well. They would both be great to interview.
We can get them both on the
Trying to think.
podcast, and their video feeds can cut in and out, back and forth, because one will have the baby and the other one will be able to talk. So
It works.
Yeah, so that's just a couple people. I think we've talked about this before. Like, there's a number of other alumni over the years that I think would definitely be really interesting to hear from as well.
Ethan, I also got some outreach from a former Gen Jayer who is a Gen J alum who is in elected office that might be really good to talk to as well. So that's someone who was interested. I'll be able to talk about some of the stuff we've done. So we'll leave that there. But yes, there's a couple Gen Jayers that have gone on to serve in elected office in a variety of roles. This one managed to make a record when they did so. So anyway, that's for later.
That would be great to have them on an interview. And then I think the last person that, well, I don't know if I should name drop him, but there is, for those of you, the kids listening, students, there was not always exclusively Gen J people behind the mechanics of the Gen J programs. There were outside forces that helped assist in the construction of some of the mechanical aspects of the programs that Gen J did and now Pathfinder will do. And I think you guys all know who I'm talking about, potentially. He used to work.
I think he would enjoy it.
He used to work at HSLDA. He's currently working on something for Pathfinder, if I'm not mistaken. But I think
yes, I spent 40 minutes with him on the phone today on a project on that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Then yes, we're thinking of the same person. I think he'd be cool to have on here.
Honestly, for that matter, Ethan, we should probably at some point go through and introduce all the board members and do that too. There's some pretty cool board members with some pretty cool backstory of their engagement with Gen J and where they've come from and whatnot. We could put them into. That'd be good.
Thank you guys so much for your time. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, there will be links to all the Pathfinder socials and everything in the description, at the top of which will be the Discord link, so that you can come join the Pathfinder community Discord, and you can hang out with if you're a Gen J alumni, you'll get access to a special section of the Discord where you can hang out with other alumni, and all things Project Pathfinder will be there, as well as on the website going forward. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want to see more of this, then let me or Joel or Glenn or Elissa know. Is there anything that you guys want to plug really quick? Glenn, I know we have a current events chat here coming up soon.
Yeah.
So
this is something it was on our list of things to bring back fairly quickly. We weren't sure exactly how quickly, and then I've had a bunch of students that have reached out to me about it, and so we're going to be bringing back our current events chat. It's going to be at a new day, same time, but it's going to be on Wednesdays from 3 to 4 Eastern time. Our first current events chat will be next week, so the 4th of February we're kicking it off. And like it used to be, it will be a bi-weekly, every other week going through the end of April. So hopefully you're able to join us. Current events chat's one of the things I love because it's a time for you, for me, for the staff to get together to talk about current events that's going on, to give our thoughts and our opinions, to ask questions. And so it's not just a point to get lectured at from Joel or me or anybody else. If you give us the opportunity, we will, but that's not the point of it. The point of it's to get your thoughts as well and just to be able to have a good conversation. So I'm looking forward to bringing those back. And well, as has been the case for the last year, there's no lack of current events to discuss right now.
No kidding.
There are.
No kidding.
Well, without further ado, then keep your eyes out for more things Project Pathfinder, guys. If what we have heard here today is any indication, 2026 is going to be wild, and beyond that, who knows? As always, we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.